I'm spicing things up this week, and I'm going to be talking about another genre of television that played a significant role in my childhood, and that is reality TV. I grew up in the 2000s, and I also happen to believe that this is the golden era, if that exists, of reality TV. There are so many iconic reality shows that aired during this time, and did I watch them? Yes. Should I have been watching them? Probably not. A few of my favorites as a child included, but were not limited to, Wipeout, Minute to Win It, Quince by Surprise, Toddlers and Tiaras, Cake Boss, and the show I'm going to be talking about today, Supernanny.
You've been very, very naughty.
The cultural impact that Supernanny has had on reality television is insane, and it's one that not a lot of people really talk about. In this video, I want to cover Supernanny and its many rip-offs and spin-offs that stemmed from the show. Jo Frost, also known as Jo Frost, was born in southwest London in 1970. She began working as a nanny at age 18, and one of her clients happened to be a television show producer. It really is just the perfect example of, it's not just what you know, it's who you know. Jo Frost developed the television persona known as Supernanny, and the show began airing in the UK in 2004. Each episode would focus on a specific family that is struggling with their children's behavior. Jo Frost would come over to visit and give the parents advice on discipline. Let's be honest with ourselves. The number one reason why people watch reality television is for the drama. And I think the reason why I liked this show so much as a kid is that it was my child version of drama. You know how when you watch a reality show and you're like, I can't believe that person said that. I can't believe Stacy punched Tiffany or whatever. I remember watching the show as a kid and just being like, oh my God, I can't believe little Timmy just hit his mom. Sarah just said a swear word? Oh my God, I could never do that. It was just the sheer absurdity of how these children were behaving that kept me coming back for more. As a kid, I was a serious rule follower, almost sometimes to a fault. So seeing these kids behave in these ways was just unheard of for me at the time, and I don't know, it both terrified me but also intrigued me to watch this show. A lot of the techniques that Jo would implement included bedtime routines, mealtime encouragements, and possibly the most infamous, the naughty something. This could be a naughty stool, a naughty step, a naughty spot, a naughty chair, a naughty room. Basically, it was a place for a child to have a timeout and separate themselves from a situation.
I would like you to place him by the wall and tell him to sit there and to stay there.
Okay, you're not listening. So you're gonna go over to the wall.
Lower your tone, let him realise you're being serious.
This, even at the time, was considered to be very controversial. Many childcare experts at the time said that putting the children in a place called the naughty chair could cause them to feel embarrassed and do more harm in the long run than good. I am not a childcare expert by any means. However, I have done a lot of babysitting and have had quite a few nanny jobs as well over the years. And I feel kind of mixed on the situation. I think on one hand, sometimes a child needs to be separated to regulate their emotions. However, calling it the naughty spot is kind of wild. I don't think I would use the word naughty to describe a child. I think a lot of the times a child can misconstrue that and think that they're bad. And when a child thinks they're bad, that just makes their behavior worse in the long run. Not unlike most reality television shows, Supernanny followed a very predictable format. The kids are misbehaving, the parents call Supernanny for help, she comes in, she watches the kids do some crazy stuff, she then implements a routine or a technique that the parents could use to help the kids' specific behavior. More often than not, one of the parents pushes back, but then they eventually come around and Supernanny is able to do her job. Then Supernanny leaves, the parents practice the techniques on their own. A lot of the time it's a 2 steps forward, 1 step back type of thing, so they make a little mistake, but Supernanny fixes it. And then at the end, everyone lives happily ever after. The kids are well behaved, the parents are happy. The end. However, I also think that within Supernanny's formula existed several subsects of formulas that these episodes would follow. I don't know if that makes any sense, but work with me here. One of the most common tropes that existed on the show was parents just having so many kids that they basically use the oldest kid as a free babysitter or a third parent. Another common trope that kind of leans into this as well is a lot of the time these parents will use their oldest child as kind of a scapegoat for all their problems. Like, if the youngest is misbehaving, they'll take it out on the oldest. Another common issue that you would see in the show is that sometimes one or both of the parents could be super strict and almost borderline abusive to the children. These episodes were always very hard to watch, and it made me feel like maybe some of this stuff should not have been airing on TV. And then you had the opposite end of the spectrum, where there were some parents who just did not take being their job as a parent seriously, and oftentimes the parents, one or both of them, just acted like kids themselves, and those were also very hard to watch for other reasons. It was just sometimes it was kind of cringy. I've seen pretty much every single episode of this show in my lifetime, and I cannot think of a single one that doesn't fall into one or more of these categories. Supernanny was definitely framed as a guide for parents, offering them tips and tricks on how to handle their children's misbehavior. And in the beginning of the series, I definitely think it lived up to that, specifically with the beginning of the UK series. However, in 2005, Supernanny would make its debut in the United States.
Bedtime.
Now this is what I call a nightmare.
But before she transforms these night terrors into a dream team,
Listen to Mummy.
she'll give Big Daddy
Say you're sorry.
a rude awakening.
You're a bully. Oh, you don't like that?
All new Supernanny, Monday, 9/8 Central after White Swap, only on ABC.
Where Jo Frost would visit families throughout the United States. And I think these episodes are, how do I put this? I think it was around this time that the producers started focusing less on helping families with their children's behavioral issues and more on what would make good TV. Don't get me wrong, this show still implemented a lot of good advice for parents at the time. However, the way that the show was edited in the US versus the way that the UK episodes were edited makes it seem just so goofy, and sometimes it can be kind of hard to take seriously. Just listen to the amount of silly songs and sound effects that they added throughout this episode, this one specific episode. There was also this one episode where the children were swearing, and instead of bleeping the swear word out like a normal show would, for some reason they added this silly, like, cartoony, goofy sound effect.
Also kill you, idiot. You shut the...
There were also several times throughout the series where Jo Frost would have the parents take their kids out to the store or to the park, or just put the parents in these situations where she knew that the kids' behavioral issues would kick off, and it's framed that she's trying to help the parents implement these techniques in public. But you can't tell me that the producers also didn't think this would make great TV. Another major controversy the show had, even from the beginning, is just the sheer fact that they're exploiting children for entertainment purposes. And this, I do agree with. They were straight up recording children in every single episode, having some just vulnerable and personal moments. As a kid, I remember thinking about how cool it would be to be on an episode of Supernanny, just like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to be on TV? I think it'd be so cool to see myself on this show or whatever. However, if I was on that show as a kid, as an adult now, I would be mortified. Yes, I was a rule follower as a kid, but I still have my moments. I was still a kid. I threw temper tantrums. I fought with my younger sister. I pushed back to my parents every now and then. And I'm so glad that those moments were not recorded for the whole world to see. Because not only would people have seen them on their television sets back in 2005, but they would also still be watching them to this day, 20 years later, on YouTube. Supernanny, to this day, still posts a lot of their old episodes from the 2000s on their channel. They post clips, they post full episodes. Imagine being one of the kids on this show from like 2006, 2007, and just scrolling through your YouTube feed and just seeing you as a kid biting your parents. I would be so embarrassed. I think I would probably cry. People can be super harsh and mean sometimes in comment sections. I personally signed up for this by creating a YouTube channel as an adult, putting myself out there, putting my face out there, putting my opinions out there. I signed myself up for hate. so I knew what I was getting. And even then, sometimes the comments can still be mean and get to me. However, these kids 20 years ago did not consent to having their face like on YouTube for people to just critique. And people are so mean to kids online. I don't know what it is, but the internet just loves to pick on vulnerable groups of people. I disagree with this. I think it's messed up that people do that. However, unfortunately, that is the internet, and the people who run the Supernanny account know this, and I don't like the fact that they keep the comments on because some of these comments are so sad. This is just something to keep in mind. I agree with the controversy in this aspect. Supernanny's original run ended in 2013, and I was surprised at just the sheer amount of spin-offs, reboots, rip-offs. I was just surprised at how many shows follow similar, if not the exact same premise as Supernanny. And while some of them are clearly inspired by Supernanny, a lot of them came out around the same time. And I just think it's really interesting how, again, reality TV was so prevalent during this era. Like, there are so many shows that feed off of one another and are so like similar. It's crazy to think about. Little Angels was a show that I want to talk about because I just think the premise is super interesting. It also began airing in the UK in 2004. The show would also focus on parents learning how to navigate their children's behavioral issues. However, this time it was definitely more in a documentary type style format rather than the reality TV sensationalism that Supernanny had. The show would follow child psychiatrist Levon Antrobus. Supposedly the actress who played Charlie's mom in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was featured in an episode of this show. I have not been able to find any proof of this. I have not been able to find any clips. I want this to be true because that's funny to me. I also just was straight up not able to find the show. I was not able to watch it. I could not find even a single clip of it. The only proof that I could find of this show existing was a television promo that aired for series 3. So I can't really say how similar or different it was to Supernanny. However, from what I could see in the promo, Levon is sitting in a truck and she has a headpiece in and the parents have headpieces in and she's kind of coaching them from behind the scenes. So from what I could tell, it seems like it's a lot more hands-off than Supernanny, just from that one little clip. If you have seen Little Angels or know where I can stream it or watch it or rent it or buy it or something, please, please, please let me know. I am dying to see that episode with the mom from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Nanny 911 was another very popular reality TV show at the time, and it aired in 2004 as well. The show was intended to be kind of a loose spin-off of Little Angels, and instead of following just one nanny, the show followed 3. Nanny 911 aired from 2004 to 2009, and you know how I said Supernanny was kind of set up to be more entertainment than educational? Well, Nanny 911 takes that to the extreme. This show is so campy. So the show follows 3 nannies, 3 childcare experts, and one of them is selected to visit a family and help a family for each episode. This is based on their personality or their qualifications. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't been able to figure that out. The nannies all hang out in like this headquarters, this like nanny headquarters, and they're like watching the kids misbehaving on this framed television set or this painting or something like that. And they are all dressed up like Mary Poppins. Jo Frost kind of leaned into the Mary Poppins aesthetic with her glasses and her like skirt and stuff like that. But Nanny 911 takes it to the extreme. They have the hats, they have the little vests. They are Mary Poppins. They are trying to be Mary Poppins. The music is also very Nanny McPhee-esque. And I know Nanny McPhee didn't come out till 2006, so I'm wondering would it be too far of a conclusion to jump to if maybe Nanny McPhee was slightly based off of Nanny 911? In 2008, TLC aired a show called Take Home Nanny, which followed Emma Jemmer, who was a professional nanny. Pretty much the same. She goes to a family whose kids are misbehaving and she straightens them out. So it's basically TLC's version of Supernanny. Take Home Nanny only aired for 10 episodes and for 1 season. So clearly the audiences were not vibing with Emma, unfortunately. The show was also American, but I think it's really funny that Emma is British born, British raised. So I guess people in the States just take nannies more seriously if they're British. Also, yes, I know I am terrible with accents. Anyone who's seen my Wow Wow Wibsy video can tell you that. However, I know for a fact that Emma is British. I did look it up this time. In 2011, Lifetime aired the official spin-off to Supernanny called America's Supernanny, also known as America's Supernanny Family Lockdown. This show followed Deborah Tillman, who was a childcare specialist, and this time she was American because she's America's Supernanny. I actually really like Deborah. I think aside from Jo Frost, she might be my favorite nanny in these series. I think she's super great with the kids. I think she offers some wonderful tips. However, she's just not as charismatic as Jo Frost is, unfortunately. She just doesn't catch my attention in the same way. I think, again, I'm just biased because I grew up with Jo Frost. This series only lasted for 2 seasons and ended in 2013 with the original run of Supernanny. I also swear to God there was some sort of spin-off or knockoff or reboot or something called Supermanny. It was literally just Supernanny, but it was a man. I vividly remember watching 2 to 3 of these episodes on YouTube at ages maybe like 10 or 11 or something like that. And I remember thinking it wasn't very good, so I turned it off. I think after the second episode, I just lost interest. Ever since then, I have not been able to find any sort of proof that the show existed at all. I don't even know where it came from. I don't know if it was legit. I have no clue. So if you've seen Supermanny, please can you explain to me what it was? For this video, I have searched high and low for something Supermanny related. Maybe I dreamt it, I don't know, but I swear there was something called Supermanny. Anyways, we're moving on. Jo Frost also had a couple other childcare focused series during this era, one of which was called Jo Frost Extreme Parental Guide, and the other one being Family SOS. She was basically becoming the Gordon Ramsay of childcare at this point. Extreme Parental Guidance feels like more of the same. It feels very similar to Supernanny, except just without the Supernanny persona. Family SOS was also relatively similar. However, once again, Supernanny as a character was not there, and it focused more on the family's issues as a whole rather than just the children's behavioral issues. The show would often go into like the parents' struggling marriages, and while this show had no business airing that out on reality TV, I'd be lying if I didn't think it was just a little bit interesting, because I don't like to mind my own business. One of the things I did like about Family SOS as well is that it did not paint the children in a bad light, and I liked that, because at the end of the day, the parents were the ones who called, not the kids. So if we're gonna show anybody's issues, it should be the parents, because, you know, they consented to this, not the kids. In 2019, Jo Frost Supernanny made a return in Supernanny Season 8. This was not a reboot or a spin-off, but rather just a very delayed continuation of the show. I'm gonna be real, I personally don't agree with the return of the Supernanny character. Not to say that I don't like the Supernanny character, but one of the things I liked about Jo's other shows is that she took herself very seriously. I don't know, I associate Supernanny with being kind of almost a little bit silly sometimes. However, from a business standpoint, I understand why they continue to use the Supernanny brand. It's very well known, it's very popular. That's what Jo Frost is known for. Season 8 handles itself very well. I think it takes itself very seriously. It doesn't feel like a cartoon like the rest of the series did. It definitely takes itself very seriously, and it wants to help parents, which is its original goal. I also like that Season 8 focuses on a lot of issues that did not exist back in 2013 and before. There's a couple episodes where they focus a lot on tablet usage and how tablet usage affects kids and how unregulated screen time can affect their brains. There's an episode where one of the parents is an influencer, and it's like she's struggling with balancing her real life with her job. Unfortunately, Supernanny was not picked up for a 10th season of the show due to an event in 2020 that caused a lot of things to not work out the way they were supposed to. And at the moment, there really doesn't appear to be any sort of modern day Supernanny equivalent. And I think this is due to a couple reasons. I think one of the reasons is that the original run of Supernanny is so widely accessible. I think it's one of the most accessible television shows of all time. I'm not even joking. The official Supernanny team is constantly uploading episodes of this series. I think at this point, the entire series has been uploaded on YouTube by them at least twice. I also think that another reason behind this is that there are a lot of parent mommy influencers now, way more than there were even back in 2019. So if a parent wants to get a tip on how to deal with this issue for a child, all they have to do is look it up and they're probably going to find an answer from another mom. And people are more inclined to believe people online than they are on TV. It's just, if there's more authenticity there, they're going to want to follow that person rather than just a reality TV show star. However, I would love to hear your thoughts. Did you watch Supernanny? Did you watch any of these other nannying, parenting reality TV shows? If so, what do you think about them through today's lens? Did you have a favorite reality TV show in general as a kid? I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!